Welcome, Beach Park District 3 to Beyond the Bell, the podcast where we connect with the incredible people in our district and share the stories that make our culture unique. I'm Gabe Capozzo, the Director of Human Resources. Today, I am thrilled to be sitting down with a teacher who joined us during the most unique of times in education in the year of 2020. In case you've forgotten, the world was navigating a bit of a pandemic and has since his time with us become a vital part of our gifted program at Newport Elementary. I have been looking forward to this conversation because teaching gifted learners requires a very specific blend of creativity and academic rigor, so this is going to be exciting. But on top of the work that he does each day in the classroom, this young man has been grinding away to complete his master's in the principal preparation program. Something that, one, I respect and give kudos to, but I can personally relate to as well. Without further ado, please welcome Mr. Dylan Shore. Hello, Dylan. What's up?
Not much. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we get to shoot at the end of your day, so we got a little bit of time. How was the day today?
Today was good. Weather was nice. Kids got outside, did a mystery science lab experiment. So it was a good day today.
Oh, that's awesome. So we'll get into it. The weather is changing and it just, things feel different, right? It's sunny out. It's starting to get warm. I love that. So I'm glad you mentioned it. I also love to hear about the journey of our guests. So if you wouldn't mind, I would love to ask you if you'd share with us what brought you into education. Well, what was your journey? What brought you to District 3? And what's the current work that you're doing over at Newport?
Yeah. So, I grew up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I still live there today. So I went to all those KUSD schools growing up. Had a lot of great teachers that were great inspirations for me that kind of helped me realize that, teaching was kind of the path for me. Some other things, I was a summer camp counselor for all of my high school, kind of like my summer job. And then in college, I did it for like a year or two. But that was kind of a good little intro for me to just kind of see how kids interact with each other and just kind of get used to that environment, actually watching them and being in charge. It's kind of crazy that, they let, like 16, 17, 18-year-olds
For real.
or like watch kids at summer camp. But, I was thrown into it and, that kind of, led me into, teaching is, something that I want to do.
Man, time and time again, our best teachers, I mean, as an administrator, you'll learn this, like our camp counselors.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. I don't know. I really enjoyed the job and, we'd take them down to the beach. They'd go swim. We'd have a bunch of other activities for them to do throughout the day. So it wasn't a lot of teaching, but it was more watching. But, like I said, you get to see how they interact. You get to see how they behave. Even, there's a little bit of discipline in there as well. So,
Right.
yeah, it was a kind of a good segue for me. I'm into, deciding, teaching is something that I want to pursue in college. So I got my bachelor's degree in elementary education. I thought about maybe being a high school math teacher. That didn't, really work out for me. It was tough to major in mathematics, so I switched up there. So elementary was the route. And like I said, I was used to that in, being a summer camp counselor.
Yeah. Where'd you go to school? What college?
I went to Benedictine University. So I was there from 2016 to 2020. One of the reasons why I chose that school is because I did play college volleyball there.
All right.
So that kind of drew me in. The coach recruited me there. But it was kind of like a small school feel. There was probably 2,000 of us on campus that lived there, and then maybe like 4,000 or 5,000 commuters. So when the commuters were there, it felt big, but then when they left for the day, then it was just kind of like the athletes on campus. So it's kind of like that small school feel for sure.
Yeah. So I'm from Kenosha. So kudos to Wisco and Kenosha,
Yeah.
Wisconsin in particular. What schools did you go through in there?
So I went to Pleasant Prairie Elementary. That was my elementary school. Then I went to Mahone Middle School, and then I went to Indian Trail High School and Academy. Those were the
Okay.
schools.
For those who don't know at all, any of the schools, we're just going to rattle off the ones I went to. So Whittier, Lance, Tremper.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you're South Side Kenosha?
South side. You were Midtown, I guess, then?
Yeah, West Side is what they would say.
West side. Okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes more sense. West side. Okay. Yeah. And let me ask you this. Here's a really good question. Growing up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, did you know where Beach Park was?
I would travel a few times down this way. I remember going to Six Flags, like, all my friends, like, my mom would take us to Six Flags and drop us off there. I don't know if you could do that now, it's just dropping middle school kids off. Maybe they'd still do that, but they'd drop us off at Six Flags, and then so I was kinda familiar with the roads, like, in the area. I don't know if I knew exactly where everything is until I started working in this district, so
Yeah, I only asked because I grew up in Kenosha as well and never knew where Beach Park was. I knew Waukegan, I knew Zion, I knew Gurnee. It just wasn't part of my vocabulary
yeah, it's
until
so
I was
small.
interested in
Yeah.
getting a position. So
Right, right.
I had this unique opportunity to ask you as a Kenoshan,
Yeah.
and so it's good.
It's
Great.
interesting though, because it's like when I graduated, I graduated from Benedictine, it was in Illinois, so I was looking for a job. I was like, "Well, I'm looking for, somewhere close in Illinois," and obviously Newport was one that popped up, so then I was just kinda, like, researching the whole area, but yeah, no, it's crazy how things kinda just work out.
Yeah, so you started in 2020. Can I ask you, were we shut down, when you applied for the position, or as far as were we remote learning, or how did your year start in 2020?
In 2020, that was my senior year of college, um and then it was about, halfway through my student teaching where everything kinda stopped and closed down. In college, they told us, like, "Hey, you need to go back to your dorm, and you need to go back to your room. We're not having classes today." And then the next day was, "You know what? You have to actually go home, because everything is closed now." So that kinda just stopped my student teaching, like, right there. After a few days, they were like, "Okay, well, we're gonna try a few things online." But it wasn't much, it was just kinda like posting a few things, and, I did a few times tried to have a few students come on and do, like, a Zoom call with me. I only had, like, 1 or 2 students come on, and we just did a few practice problems for about a half hour or an hour. So it really wasn't much. Luckily, I had about 9 weeks of student teaching in already at that point.
Yeah.
And then the last 7 weeks was just navigating, the pandemic and virtual teaching from that point. When I finally got hired here at Newport, then it was uncertainty there and we didn't know what exactly we were doing. But eventually, we got the hang of it here and just learned a bunch of different resources and kind of just did the best that you could. I did feel like I maybe had a slight advantage just because I was a little bit newer with some technology and I saw some new programs in my student teaching that I was like, "Oh, I could really do that during when I start my first year teaching." But yeah, it was definitely a big learning curve and kind of a big challenge for everyone during that time.
Yeah, what a wild time to come in education. I mean, I had to take the opportunity to ask because I'm trying to go back in my head. I was the principal at the time, and it was just everything was so unclear, and we were really just treading a new path in education and creating resources and accessibility, and at the same time navigating policy and safety guidelines, and always focusing on how do we get kids back to school. So I think it's easy to say that since 2020, your role as an educator has clearly evolved.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, obviously going from virtual teaching to then like my second year teaching, I was like, "Oh, well, this is kind of like my first year teaching actually because the students are actually in person." So I had to figure all that out. And then finally after a few consistent years and now making the jump to the gifted and talented program, that's kind of been my progression so far.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Is there anything else you do outside of teaching for the building? Are you on any committees or do anything after school or before school clubs?
Yeah, so I'm on our PBIS Tier 1 team. I'm also on our building leadership team. And then I co-lead with Cindy Smith, our after-school STEAM club.
Okay.
Um, and that's really been a great time for the students and for me. I feel like I didn't have those opportunities really growing up, or at least at my elementary school. So it's been really good experience, like I said, for the students and for me because I get to teach topics that are not normally covered in the classroom. And the students have so much fun. They're engaged with it and they love it. So I'm happy to co-lead that with Cindy Smith. We do a great job. We're navigating it, a little bit. It's all new to us, but we've done 3D printing, we've done circuitry, and we've done robotics with the students this year. So it's been a good time.
That's amazing. Yeah. What are you guys making in 3D printing right now?
So for 3D printing, we did a few different things. Like their first project, they had to make a keychain. They started from scratch, right? They had to build like a base plate, and then they had to build up from that, and then they make their name out of certain shapes, or they engrave it, and then they make like a little hole in it. So they're basically learning the Tinkercad software, how to use it, and then build those things. So we did a keychain, we did a stamp, we did like a dream house. So we
Yeah,
did a bunch of different things with that. We couldn't print the dream house because some of them were massive. So the best things for the 3D printer are the small things where they can print in like 5 to 10 minutes.
that's fantastic. Definitely an opportunity that I clearly never had. But growing up, it's so cool to be heading that up for kids. They must just be like pie-eyed. This is amazing. We could basically build anything.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm having just as much fun as they are in the club. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
So you're currently teaching the gifted program. You started in the same grade level. So how has your instruction changed? And what's the most rewarding part of tackling these problems as a fourth grade gifted teacher?
Yeah, I think the biggest adjustment, since it is only my first year doing it, but I think the biggest adjustment is just learning the student population. You're going to get specific personalities, specific behaviors, specific quirks with the gifted population, and that's just kind of the territory. So that's kind of been a little bit of a learning curve for me, just trying to figure out how they interact, how they behave, especially when you get them all in one big group. That can be a little overwhelming. But beyond that, I've really appreciated just their sense of thinking, their almost deeper level of thinking. I try to do as many projects as I can with them. So for example, we did like it's called a mini city conversion project, and what they had to do was they got a budget, they had to calculate the cost of the materials, and then they had to convert all that into the correct measurement that I wanted from them. So I set the parameters, but then they kind of take it. They're so creative. Like I had a group say that they wanted to join together because they wanted a bigger budget for their city. It's like, yeah, go for it.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So I think that just that create and you know what they come up with is just it's just amazing. So I think those two things really is the biggest thing I've kind of had to adjust to is their personalities, their behaviors, and then I feel like the most rewarding thing is just seeing all those different creative things they can think of in the classroom. It's been awesome. So.
So if you had to summarize the spirit of your classroom in just a few words, what would it be?
That's a tough one. We'll keep it fun. It could be a little chaotic at times, but it's intentional.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm okay with a little bit of that chaos because I think that those interactions between the students are super important, and sometimes it can get a little loud in here. But like I said, everything's with intention, everything's with a purpose. So I think fun, chaotic, and intentional would be kind of like the spirit in my classroom.
I think it's perfect. Like that's fantastic. Yeah. I feel like I'm in the room. I can see it happening. Um, how do you balance the academic pressure that students have or often feel with the need to have fun and support the social emotional environment as well? Do you find it's difficult in your setting?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to find that balance between fun and just being supportive, it kind of starts with me, just right at the beginning of the school year. Is how can you build rapport with those students? I think it's important to share things about yourself, and then just kind of let them know that you make mistakes too. Like show your human side to them. I think when they feel like they can trust you and they can connect with you, they're a little bit more open to just feeling safe, and then that fun aspect kind of follows along
Yeah.
with it. So I feel like that's kind of how I navigate it. It's just starting with those relationships. And then, when you have a good relationship with them, you can tell them, you have those expectations. You can set those boundaries, and you can follow through with your expectations and, they understand. So that's kinda how I balance it.
Yeah.
I know it's different for every teacher, but, that's the way I go about it.
It's genuine.
Yeah,
That's a genuine answer, I just go back to the classroom and thinking, unconditional love for children is so important and being vulnerable as a teacher and letting them know you're a human being. It's a
yeah.
delicate balance, but creating what inevitably is just a safe space for kids to really explore who they are as learners is one of the most majestic things about the classroom. What do you love most about being a teacher?
Yeah, it's something new every day with the students. I think that's what I love the most about it. You never know what they're gonna say to you. You never know what's gonna happen on any single given day. And sometimes, you know what? It can throw your day off a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're their consistent figure and you're there to support them, you're there to teach them. And, it's something exciting and it's new every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
would say that, that's the best part is just coming in, supporting them, feeling like they can share what they need to share with you and, just being that important role model for them too.
Yeah, awesome. So I know you're getting your master's degree in your principal preparation program. How's that going? How close are you to the end?
Yeah, so I'm actually super close. I graduate here in the middle of May, so it's coming up super soon.
Yo.
It's been it's been a long, long journey. I guess I shouldn't say it was that long, but it was a good 2 years.
Yeah.
And there's an internship component and then there's the classes on top of it. So finding time to get that all complete takes a little bit of time management. But when you get in your groove and you get those things going, you kind of repeat it and it gets easier. So it's been a good learning experience for me. Lori Garris has been a great mentor in that for me. She's, set up some opportunities for me to practice my leadership experience. Just like, for example, like being on the chain of command when she's out of the building,
Yeah.
so that when something's happening, I can go be the first one to that situation to either one, handle it or to make a decision to hire up admin, maybe a call to you,
Yeah.
you never know.
I'm always at the other
So
end of the phone, man.
yeah.
You can always call me for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, she's, like I said, she's been great. She's been super supportive and kinda helping me through different situations and talking me through what she would do and kinda how I can apply it in the future and maybe for an admin job. So, yeah, no, it's been a great experience, and it's very valuable knowledge that sometimes I don't think people really realize how much an school leader really does, and all the things they're doing behind the scenes. So it's been great for me to experience, learn it, and like I said, understand it.
Yeah, the perspective is super valuable. We got a lot of people that are in school for different degrees, different pursuits of happiness and education. What's a piece of advice you would give someone thinking about going back to school?
I'd say find a program that works for you. I'm doing my degree through Aurora University, and that works for me because everything's all online and I can do my assignments on my own time. But yeah, I'd say definitely find a program that works for you. There's a ton of them out there, and then just be ready to work hard. You got to carve out some time each night after you're done working to work on assignments. It's definitely doable for sure, but like I said, you got to be on top of it. You got to be consistent and you just gotta know what you want out of a program.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Ditto. I totally agree with everything you just said. 100%. So you're coming to the end. Have you given yourself some thoughts about what's your timeline to begin considering looking at the next chapter of Dylan Shore's life and education?
Yeah, I've definitely given it some thought. I'm not quite sure when I'll make the jump for sure. I know next year for sure I'll still be teaching, in my position, but I gotta see where I'm at with some life events and with some family. We'll see where I'm at with that, and then kinda make my decision based on that. So, we'll see. It could be sooner rather than later, but I guess, like I said, it all depends, where I'm at.
Yeah. You know, uh, Going back to the advice you'd give somebody thinking about going to school, if you're thinking about going to school, generally there's never a great time to go back to school. So you just kind of
Yeah,
got to do it, right? Like
yeah,
life is always throwing something at you. And the other piece about thinking about going back to school, if you really have the thought of being in leadership or changing your role into a different position and you need to further your education to do that, it's always better to be prepared to take the move when they come up rather than having opportunities open up and you haven't prepared yourself. And I've learned that my journey has taught me that.
Yeah, I like that advice a lot. I
Yeah.
do. That's good.
Yeah.
And that's something you gotta always keep in the back of your mind for sure.
Yeah, a driving force for me was always just I would rather turn a job down than not be able to take the job if it came up. And that's what's been behind me, pushing me to get my degrees and continuing to push through in my education. And it may be that I never changed. Like when I went back for my principal prep, I wasn't sure I even wanted to be a principal. Opportunities came up that were unforeseen because you don't know when they're going to open up. And it's like, well, maybe I will throw my name in the hat there. And it feels a
Mhm.
lot better to throw your name in the hat, go through the interview process and not get the job, but have been able to do that. It's been
Yeah.
fruitful for me. So anybody that's listening to Dylan and I talk about that, consider those things like where do you want to be? What's your timeline? And let your driving force be I'd rather say no to an opportunity than not have the opportunity at all.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That's great advice for sure.
Yeah. So in your own words, what's it about the team at Newport Elementary that feels supportive and collaborative?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, here at Newport, everyone has the best interests of students. Everyone feels super helpful. Everyone feels super collaborative here. And that's, part of the reason why I really like it here is that you can go to somebody down the hallway, say, "Hey, I need some help with this." And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, come on in. Let's talk it through and we'll try to figure out a solution." And that goes for everybody, whether if I have a question for kindergarten or if I have a question for 5th grade, I can go in and I feel comfortable going and asking them and be like, "Hey, I'm not really sure what's going on with this. Can you help me out?" So I think that aspect is really great here. And then my team that I work with every single day during PLC, we really we collaborate well together. Like I said, we're always trying to think of or do what's best for the students and think of solutions to just try to improve whatever's happening in the classroom or our instructional strategies ourselves. So like I said, I think it's been really awesome to be here just to have like a like mindset with all the staff here. It really makes you feel like you're part of a family. Like everybody's got that same mindset. So
Yeah, that was the answer to like three of my questions. That's
sorry.
no, man, it's perfect. It's perfect because I always like I always ask our guests who are, you're in the trenches, you're working really hard, and I like to ask them, what's the teamwork like? And what advice would you give a struggling teacher right now? And your answer, part of that, I'm gonna let you answer that. Like part of that answer is like you already said, like when I'm struggling and I got a question, I just go ask and I get the help I need. Like
Yeah.
what other advice would you give a struggling teacher?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I think the biggest thing there is being vulnerable yourself, like taking a second and saying like whoever you're working with, whoever your team is, right? Saying like, "Hey, I don't understand this. Can you help me out?" Or this just didn't go well when I was teaching it. What can I do or what could I change to better improve that aspect of my teaching? So I think just that first aspect of just being open and honest, like saying like, "Hey, I'm struggling with this. What can I do?" I think that's the first step. The second step is if your team is not able to help you or if you're not getting the answers that you're looking for, see if you can try to reach out to a grade level above you or a grade level lower than you. See if you can build that relationship with those staff members to see if they can offer any helpful advice. And then beyond that, right? Like have that relationship with your building principal, right? They have a wealth of knowledge, but you have to be open to ask and you have to be vulnerable to change. So I think that's the biggest thing I would say for a struggling teacher. There's just so many resources, right? You just got to ask for help.
I'm so glad that you said that was your answer. As an administrator, often administrators don't know when our staff needs help or struggling for the things that aren't discussed. Optically, you know what's going on with your teams, but if there's an individual that is struggling, or if you're an individual listening and you're struggling, know that it's not intentional that your administrator isn't always helping you. They just don't know you need the help. So you really do have to be vulnerable. You really do have to be have the courage. And I can assure you, after my 20 years in the district that no one's going to say no to you. My experience has been just like yours, Dylan. Everyone is willing to help you. That's why you have a team. These aren't silos that we instruct in every day. Like there is a ton of resources here outside of what you've mentioned. The district office has resources too, but like yeah, your teams above and below, your administrator. And just keep in mind, sometimes your administrator doesn't know, and they all want to help you. I know every administrator, and they don't want to see anyone struggling ever. So such a really great answer. It sounds
Thank you.
like Dr. Garris has really empowered you to try new things. She's been behind you, holding you up through your program. Is there any colleague at Newport that you want to give a specific shout out to that you worked with recently? I mean, I know they're all great, but is there someone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd say big shout out to Cindy Smith, Lori Squires. They've been my mentors since day one. They really kind of helped, shape and mold me into the teacher I am today. So thank you to both of them. They've been great for me.
Good.
Also, like I said, we already mentioned Dr. Garris.
You can give her the shout out though.
Like I said, Dr. Garris has been great through my leadership journey. So she's been, like I said, helping me through that whole thing, which has been amazing. And then our instructional coaches, Rachel Cuffle, she's been great. I know I can go ask her anything at any time and she can give me an idea, or even if it's just something simple, she's there to help. Before Rachel, we had Marjorie Mahar. She was a great instructional coach. So she would come in a lot and model lessons for me and just kind of help me see, a different side of teaching. So she was a good role model for me. And then I think another shout out I would say to Maria Rodriguez. She's our EL resource teacher here, but she gave me the opportunity to come in and observe her. It was for one of my class assignments for my master's program. But she was teaching a lesson to kindergartners, and that was just really great for me to experience that on my end because like I said, I only have experience with fourth grade. So I know how they interact, I know how they behave, but it's just kind of a whole different world with kindergarten. So she did such a great job with her lesson, and I was really impressed with how kindergartners could transition between different groups to independent work so quickly, and they knew the expectation, they knew the routine. And so if a kindergarten can do it, anybody can do it. So yeah, no, it's that kindergarten's a whole different ballgame, but I know for me it was good to see.
Yeah.
So, if a job comes down the line, I kind of know all age levels and how to interact with them appropriately.
Yeah. Well, they're all going to appreciate the shout out. And I know quite a few of those people on the list. And yeah, a great group of people. So thank you for all the support you've been giving Dylan if you're listening. And, I would say, you tap into those instructional coaches. Man, like what a great resource that just didn't exist 4 years ago. I mean,
Oh yeah.
like 4 or 5 years ago, we started instructional coaches, and like whether you're new to education in our district or you've been around a while and you're a veteran, they know a ton. And with the new drop of HMH and our materials to support our curriculum, like what an excellent resource. I would be leaning on that all the time. So it's great that you gave the instructional coach a shout out. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's such a vital role to everything we do here at Newport. So yeah, we appreciate it, Rachel. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. If you were talking to a teacher considering joining our district, what would you tell them about Beach Park?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think if somebody is interested joining our beach park district, I would like to tell them that it's like a family here, and I've never felt like a number almost. I felt like I actually mattered. There was people who would come and build relationships with me. I feel like in a bigger district, maybe even a wealthier district, you can kind of get forgotten about, right? It's like, oh, we hired you, and you may not even see you know half the people in your district. So I think for that aspect, I'd say like I said, it's that small school feel. It's like a family here, and the people who are in the district really do care about your well-being and want to see you succeed. So that's what I would say to somebody who is interested in joining the Beach Park School District.
I would totally agree with you, man. It's just the reality is I totally agree with you. And, it's a small district. And I can tell you right now, I've worked in every building and I've said it before on the show. It's like every building is great. And every guest we have on the show that works in any other building says exactly the same thing. What's one word you'd use to describe your building? What would be your word?
Tough, but I would say welcoming.
Welcoming. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
welcoming, family,
yeah,
loving, like it's always the same few answers. And I think they're genuine answers. And I love to ask that question. You couldn't have been more thorough with your answer. I mean, it's just the truth. And I think it has to do with size. I really do. And just our population. We got amazing families. We've got amazing students and great staff. Like it's culture, like the culture is just amazing. So let me ask you this quick fire questions. We're kind of coming to the end. You ready to have a little bit of fun with me?
yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So fourth grade, what's your energy boost to get you through the day? You got like a coffee, snack, drink, music.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not a big coffee drinker, to be honest. I don't do much caffeine, but I will do a cup of tea. If I'm really feeling sluggish, I'll go with like a soda, like usually like a Coke or a Sprite. And then even if I'm feeling like a little crazy, sometimes I do this in the morning. I'll have my glass of water, but then I'll put some like turmeric at the bottom of it, and then I just drink that. So I don't know if that just makes me weird or not, but I don't know. I think it's helpful.
There's no weird answers. There's honest
Yeah.
answers, man. This gives the audience an opportunity to get to know who you are as a human being. All right, a Coke, a bottle of turmeric,
Yeah.
some good old H2O.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, if you weren't an educator, what would be your dream job?
So it was always between teacher and firefighter for me. So I've always had interest in that. I'm not really sure why. I thought it would be a cool job to do. But beyond a firefighter, I'd say I would like to be like somebody who goes to professional sports games, and I'd like to be the stat taker, just so I could like go watch the games every day for free and just kind of have a minimal role while I'm kind of like cheering on my team silently. I don't know if you need to be unbiased or not as a stat taker, but I think I would love that, just kind of go to all the games and get paid a lot to take stats. I don't know if that's the case, but that'd be
Yeah,
nice.
I dig it. All right, definitely a different answer. What's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport to watch is football. Then I would say probably baseball, then basketball if I'm
Okay.
watching them in that order. Hockey's up there too. That's a good one. But for me, my favorite sport to play would be volleyball, and then my
Yeah.
second favorite sport to play was baseball.
Okay. All right. And what's your favorite football team?
It's the Green Bay Packers. So
Atta boy.
sorry to
No,
sorry to everybody from Illinois
we
who's there.
apologize for nothing, Dylan. We apologize for nothing. They
I know, right?
they got theirs this year. They
Yeah,
got theirs.
exactly.
Matt Russell over at Oakcrest got to go to the playoff game where they beat the Packers, and I gave him a shout out in his podcast. We treat them with respect.
Yeah, we do. We do every
That's
single time. But then yeah, flip the script, and then it's just like the end of the world for
Yep.
a Bears fan. So
I know it.
I don't know.
100%.
Yeah, you might need to cut that out. I don't know.
No, we got each
People
other.
are
We're
gonna
not
get
cutting it.
mad at that.
No, we're not cutting it out. They got to accept it. They got to accept the truths from these couple Wisconsin boys.
Yeah.
What's one talent? What's a talent or a hobby you have outside of work that might surprise either your students or your staff?
I really like to draw. I don't get a chance to do it a lot. I like to draw and I like to fish. I'm not really good at fishing, but I'm decent at drawing. So I'd say probably drawing and fishing are my two kind of hobbies or talents outside of school or, coaching volleyball or playing volleyball. So
Do you coach volleyball?
I did, but I stopped. I stopped because I wanted to focus on my master's
Yeah,
program.
yeah.
So
Where'd you coach at? What level?
I've coached all boys, but I've coached a wide range, all the way from 12-year-olds to high school level. So in the fall, I was coaching at Indian Trail High School for their high school team. I did that for 5 years, and then for club team in the springtime, I would coach at Southport Volleyball Club.
That's fantastic.
So that was, like I said, ages from like 12 to 16. So it was a good time, but it was a lot. It was a big time commitment for sure. But I did that, like I said, for about 5 years.
Beautiful. What's the best concert you've ever attended? Where was it? Who was it? Why?
So the best concert, I'll be honest, I didn't really start getting into concerts until I met my wife. But she brings me along to all these different concerts, and we actually went to Nashville last summer, and we went to CMA Festival. So that was a really good time. But what I wasn't prepared for is I think in the back of her mind, she had this plan all along. We got there and she's like, "Yeah, I don't know if I really want to see any of these artists on the free stage." So I was like, "Okay, well, what do you want to do?" Because I was like, "I have no idea."
Yeah.
She's like, "Well, there's these 4 artists performing at this bar, and it's for free." I was like, "Oh, for free? That sounds great."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, it's Lainey Wilson, it's Jordan Davis, it's
Okay.
Cole Swindell, it's Shabuzi." I'm like, "Okay, well, let's just go. Let's get in line." And then 8 hours of standing in line, we finally get into this venue, but I was very unprepared for an 8-hour wait. You couldn't leave the line at all.
Yeah.
You couldn't use the bathroom. You couldn't get any food,
Right.
and you didn't have any cell service. It was definitely by far the best concert I've been to. There was only like 200 people in there,
Beautiful.
but it was I was not prepared for that.
Yo, man, Nashville will throw you a curveball. So I was in Nashville for a conference, and Post Malone, of all people, this was this year. Post
Yeah.
Malone put out a social media post that he's just gonna throw a concert in the middle of the street, and I thought that this can't be real. And it was like
Yeah.
Tuesday night, and I was like, no, Wednesday, Post Malone will be on the middle of the street. We're gonna shut Broadway down in Nashville, and there's gonna be a Post Malone concert. And I knew at that moment that there was no possible way I was gonna miss Post Malone, in
Yeah.
Nashville.
Yeah, no
And he
way.
did. I mean, all of Broadway was from the end, from the bottom, the lower Broadway, all the way to the upper was filled with people, and he played Lainey Wilson opened it up for him,
Oh,
and it was the Allman Brothers played, and it was just like it was insane. Like, it was just
yeah.
that's all I can say. It was like, "This is crazy." And then afterwards, he just told the entire city that, it was for his grand opening at the bar. He had opened up a bar restaurant, and he just said,
Yeah.
"Everything's free for anybody that can get in." And so, I couldn't get in. It was so packed, you couldn't get
Oh,
in.
yeah.
But it was just, like, the most remarkable thing. So, not my favorite concert, but man, that is up there that somebody would just, a night before, be like, "You don't
Yeah.
know what's gonna happen in Nashville." I guess that's
Yeah,
the point.
that's a crazy experience, and like you said, you have to see it. You have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, I went to the conference all day, and I literally left the conference, and I just said, "I'll be right here in the middle of the street until the show starts," and it was just unhinged. So the fact that you spent 8 hours in a line, it sounds like it was worth it. That is a commitment, but
Yeah, it was a big commitment, but it was a good time for sure.
that's so cool to be able to tell the story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Anything you currently binge watching or listening to? You watch TV? You got all this other stuff to do all the time?
I do have time for a little bit of TV. I'm currently watching I feel like I'm a little late to the party, but I'm currently watching Peaky Blinders. I don't know if you know that one.
I do, and I
Uh,
have not started it, but there's some
okay.
fans over here in the district office who just talk about it regularly
Yeah.
for how long it's been out.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm only on, like, halfway through, so season 3.
Okay.
And then a show that my wife and I watch, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit this one, but because I usually don't like these type of reality TV shows, but the show is called Secret Lives of Mormon Housewives,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I can't there's so much drama in that one, I can't get over it. So, yeah, I'd say those 2, and like I said, I don't usually watch those reality TV shows, but that's an interesting one for sure.
Yeah. No, I love that you admitted that. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And I mean, I'm guilty of the same. So I can't clearly sit here and hypocritically judge you for that. The only problem with this is, and I know everyone that's listening, and particularly you, know this, that my wife will watch something like that in the background or when I'm not able to focus because I'm also in school, right? I
Right.
feel like I'm always in
Yeah.
school. And I'll get hooked on one episode, and then it'll come back on inadvertently at some point, and she'll have watched 2 or 3 episodes, and I'll go, "What happened here?" Like, and then I feel like, "You're watching this without me?
Yeah,
Not even
exactly.
it's not even my show, like, it's your show,
I
but you
know.
tricked me into watching it with you, and now I'm sucked in, and then you just inadvertently thought you just keep watching all these without me, and now I know nothing?"
Yeah, that's how it goes every single time.
It
It's
is
like,
how it goes.
"Oh my
Oh
gosh."
gosh.
It's like
Last
I didn't even wanna watch it in the first place, but here I am, I'm sucked into it, so
I love that.
yeah.
Good. Everyone can relate to that. I guarantee it. And I don't think it's gender specific. It goes both ways, depending on, like, my wife has been sucked into some of my shows too and been like, I can't believe I'm watching this with you. So fair enough. Last question for you. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Yeah, I don't know if I can pinpoint just best piece of advice, but I think just some things I try to live by is just be yourself, don't take things too seriously, and then just be open to change. So, I think change is something I struggle with. So, people in my life have always been told me just like, hey, think about this opportunity or think about, trying something new. And it's kind of led me to, the position I am in today is, trying new things and just being open to that. So I'd say those are probably, kind of some things that I live by and try to incorporate every day into my life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. The mottos that you live by become the advice for the people who hear them. So I think that was just graceful, a beautiful way to come kind of towards the end of this show. And I just want to tell you, Dylan, this was wonderful. I want to thank you so much for being vulnerable enough to share your passions, your favorite show that you're binge watching with me, the struggles you got in the class. In your own classes, working through your master's, which is just so commendable. I have done it, and I'm so proud of you and anybody else who's doing that right now. What a difficult, courageous thing to be doing. And then just sharing your insights with us about being an educator and what it's been like for you in Beach Park. It's clear that you're committed to the gifted program at Newport Elementary. I am so excited for our kids to have you as a teacher. It's the first year that grade level's opened up and you're there and they get you and you're talking about the STEM program after school and the quirky personalities that you get to work with. I mean, it's endearing, it's heartfelt, it's passionate, it's amazing, man. And you're making a huge difference in the life of our students and our families that we serve. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
For our audience, if you're an educator who wants to work in the district where a curriculum is intentional and leadership is accessible, we want to meet you. We want you to be part of our family. You can head over to BPD3.org, look at our employment page, and fill out an application. Now is the best time to be doing that. And then to our current BPD family, thank you for being the ones who bring the teaching and the learning to the life of every single student, every single day. Thank you for all you do for our students, our staff, our families, our community. I can assure you that the work does not go unnoticed, from the district office to your administrator to the teacher across the hall from you. Thank you for being you. There's only one of you, and we are grateful to have you part of our family. And for our audience at large, thanks for tuning into Beach Park's Beyond the Bell, the podcast that I enjoy hosting every single Monday. And I'd like to just invite all of you to like and subscribe on the podcast at YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. There's a like button right down here. Just hit like. Even if you didn't watch the whole episode, that would be awesome. Feel free to leave comments and suggestions as I work to grow the channel, and your feedback is always welcomed. And I just look forward to being able to watch this when we're done and getting to share it with our audience. And at that, Mr. Shore, is there anything for the good of the order? Anything you want to add?
I just thank you for doing these episodes. I think it really brings our community more together. So thank you. We appreciate you and all your hard work. So thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Thank you so much at that. And thank you for listening, Dylan. I appreciate that. And being a guest. Man, dude, thanks for being a guest.
Of course.
Reach out if you want to be a guest, please. And at that, maybe we'll say goodbye. All right, everybody. Bye.
See ya.